Now, joining me live via Skype is CEO Kairos Capital, Sam Chidoka, to deliberate more on the CBN governor's defense of the ban on Forex for food importation. Thank you very much for joining us. The CBN governor clarified the stance of government, saying there isn't a total ban on all food items, but those Nigeria can produce, there are already 43 on the restriction list, and it says there will be more. Some have said this response to ensuring maximum food production is a fire brigade approach, with little done to see effective actualization. Your thoughts?
Okay, thank you for having me. I think that it's a way of somewhat not a very good way of doing something that ultimately could be good. So if we understand that the CBN is autonomous, perhaps what we would have expected was that this announcement should have first come from the CBN and not the other way around. So when you have the president making that declaration and the CBN coming to clarify, I don't think that was the right thing to do. It should have been the CBN as an autonomous institution, like they did with the 41 items that are banned. They could have come up to say, this is what we intend to do. This is the start date. These are the products we are going to ban. And this is what we've done to make sure we can produce those products locally. You know, there's often a lot being said about product like rice, for instance. And you hear that we are food sufficient in rice, but it doesn't seem to be the case. If you go to the market, the reality is different from what is being said. As of today, the imported rice, we still find it a lot in the market, and pricing comparatively, the differential between the local rice and the imported rice is not a wild gulf. So we clearly need to do it in the right way. But if you ask me overall if this policy is the right direction to go, going forward is the right thing to do.
Now, the CBN governor also insists that the restriction doesn't present any conflict with the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. It says Nigeria must take a stance now on how to operate within the system. What's your take as well? Do you see any conflict?
Well, from where I sit, I see a conflict. We just signed up to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement that started in May this year. And what that portends is that we are saying that within Africa, we are going to allow free movement of goods and services as long as you're within Africa. So if you're going to allow that, then once again, you ban the importation of certain products that are being imported from other African nations, or you ban the access to Forex for certain products that are being imported from African countries. It might seem like you are contravening that agreement. But you know, the nitty-gritty of what has been banned has not been put forward by CBN. Maybe when we see the list, then we will know whether it's a list that consists of only products that are imported from Europe. I'll give you an example. We import beans from Benin Republic. So if you can't have access to Forex from a bank or from the CBN to import beans from Benin Republic, I think that would be against the free trade agreement.
Okay, now before I let you go, let's also touch on the $9 billion judgment slammed against Nigeria over an aborted gas project on Friday by London court. Emefiele says this wouldn't affect foreign reserves since there's an opening for appeal. But just last week, we saw external reserves drop by $482 million in just 1 month. What steps should we be taking now to move back upwards?
So the drop in external reserves is not because of this judgment that we had against Nigeria. The case of the judgment on the gas deal is just a case of us not doing the right thing at the right time. I mean, this could have been averted by us just making the right decision. When it was agreed that we could pay $850 million to, as part of arbitration to let this go, we should have paid and moved on. But today we have a judgment debt of $9 billion. What I suggest is government should go and sit down, negotiate with them again, and see what we can pay to get out of this. But the diminution in our foreign reserves, you can clearly see that happening from the price of oil. Once the price of oil begins to tank, then we begin to have these issues with our foreign reserve. But fortunately, our foreign reserve have been built up handsomely in recent past. So as long as the CBN continues to protect the Naira to trade at a certain price, you cannot fund it in any other way but to take money from the foreign reserves. So at some point, we have to answer the question, should we continue to protect the Naira, or should we allow the Naira to depreciate to a certain percentage? that's a mixed match that the CBN has
Thank
to
you
answer
very
at some
much for
point.
your time. Thank you very much for your time. That's all we can take, and we've been speaking with the CEO of Cairo's Capital, Sam Chidoka. And that's it.